Okay, sorry for the delay. If you make the decisions that this little film will call for in the next day or so, I should be able to have the construction drawings by this coming Monday. But there were some other things that came up once I left your place, once I came back here and started putting together the final plan, etc. This is where we dropped off at our meeting, where we were kind of dedicated to this bigger vanity here. We had gone to accept that 4 feet, I think, would be enough for that vanity, which is 48 inches. So when I started, I noticed, okay, well, the big plan did not include the second window here. I mean, the walls aren't shown at all at the time this was developed, and it doesn't show that second window there, whereas the other plan had. And so that's the stairs over, and this is the window that was in those other plans. This one here, that window is right at the bottom of the stairs and at the head of that sidewalk there. But going to this wider vanity puts this door right in the middle of that window with no real opportunity to get a window on this side of the room. So the first thing I did in my panic and chagrin about this was to see if there was a way to get a window over here. I think that door goes that way a little anyway. So I took a look at these stairs out there. And this is what, it was easy here because we had the little skinny vanity here, and so we had the window into there, regardless of what happened in here in terms of the bed. But with the longer vanity, the 48-inch vanity, we ran into a problem. So the first thing I did was look at, can those stairs, can something happen to get that window in here? And really, it needs to move about 16 inches to make it possible. We need the stairs to move about 16 inches. It's doable. They can move over all the way there. It becomes a little bit of a different environment underneath. And so it's doable because there's not going to be, none of this isn't really going to be concrete here. All that concrete will be gone from the cut down. And so there will be some sort of coil stock or some sort of covering of the framing that's underneath of that. And there'll be a lintel above it to hold that brick up. So yeah, we could cantilever another beam. We've got a beam cantilever here to pick up the load from this column to there. So we could shift things around and send another cantilever beam through the floor and out to hold that up, and then the stairs come back here and like that, and we can get a window into that room. The stairs come back, the sidewalk comes back with them, and we're like that. However, before or after I did that, then I said, okay, so it's doable in the event that the 5 foot or the 4 foot vanity is an absolute requirement. It is a doable thing without a terrible amount of headache. But first I wanted to see what could be done if we just left these stairs where they are, since that's all been set up already, and maybe if we can do something with this bathroom down here, we end up with a larger bedroom. So that's the first thing I did, was took a look at what could be done with this bath here and keeping a window in place, keeping those stairs where they are. And we knew that the bed wasn't going to go on this side, it was going to go on this side like this. So then to the bathroom, this was the best I could come up with without preserving that window space. You can see it doesn't, that wall actually shifts down a little south. And so this was what I could come up with leaving this window in place, leaving the stairs in place. This is the arrangement I came up with up here with the closet here. The closet becomes a little more narrow. I gave over some space for shelves or a linen cabinet back here in the laundry. I see no reason why the lift station can't fit in this space here. It fit in it before. It was really overdone. So I see no reason why it couldn't be there. But it does, the largest vanity I can get in, because we've got a steel beam here and we want a little sink in the laundry room, the largest vanity I can get is 42, which is still a substantial vanity. The last one we looked at our last meeting was 48, so we lose 6 inches in trading that 6 inches off to leave these stairs where they are in place. leaving the window in place, and then this is the kind of floor plan we end up with. So the main decision is, can this bath floor plan work for you, and is this acceptable up here? And here's a closer up view of this little area. And really, I hadn't considered it at the time that I did this review, but I'll just put it together and stick it in here right now, and we'll ignore it through the rest of the film. But actually, if you're willing to not have a full 5-foot wide shower, I'm sure there are other units out there that are only 54 inches wide, then you could pick that 6 inches back up here if you're willing to go down to a 54-inch wide shower unit. I'm showing this around 34, 36 inches deep from here to here now, but really it can be a maximum of 44. And so, yeah, as it turns out, you can have the 48-inch vanity down here if you go with a little shallower or a little less wide shower. So I just wanted to put that in there and just know that that fact exists, even though I don't mention it through the rest of the film. Here then are a couple of quick views. A person lying on the bed on this side of the bed, looking out the patio door, looking out the window. And this thing doesn't get too encroaching. The window's not completely firmed up there. You can see I got an edge. It gets actually bigger than that. And here it is dimensioned. Now, one thing I like about this plan is it does allow some furniture placement in the bathroom. Allows you a place for a little chair in here if you wanted it beside the toilet. This door clears the tank. We'll make sure that that happens so that can be accessed. There's room for a couple small nightstands, and still have clearance here if you want it. Giant dresser if that's what you've got, or something like this. Anyway, I think this is a fairly decent plan. So if you can get by with the 42-inch vanity, I think it's probably the way to go. So we don't have a bunch of horsing around with this here. This remains fairly straightforward. The next thing, though, that comes up with this particular plan, here it is dimensioned. And the next thing that I wanted to look at, or at least review with you, because I know that we went into it talking about having it fairly accessible, all 3-foot doors everywhere, etc. We've got the 5-foot turning radius well within realm here, even once we shift this wall a little to make this door clear, so you don't have to pull the tank every time you have to get really into this mechanical room here. But in terms of actual, complying with complete ADA guidelines, they're calling for a 42-inch towel bar or grab bar here on the left side of the toilet, coming out at 56 inches. And you can see if we do that, it requires shifting this closet way back. You see how that is. And to get this 42-inch, to get that total ADA requirement of the big towel bar, grab bar there, we've got to shift that closet door. I don't like that it comes under this margin here, but if that's something that's really critical, if you think that's critical, then that's what would have to happen. Whether or not this just gets divided and there's a little broom closet in from this side, I don't like this door coming under this soffit like this. I don't like that detail, but if this is what's critical, then that's what would be part of the price to pay, with being able to keep this window, being able to keep these stairs, and having this 42-inch grab bar on the left side of the toilet. This is a little bigger overview. Just looking at these doors, I don't know, something like this maybe probably be better. Otherwise, we leave it like it was, and you do end up with about a 34-inch bar on the left side of the toilet. And you preserve the shelves and linen cabinet. You preserve this door, keeping out from underneath that soffit environment there. It's still a pretty decent bath. Here's an overview of that. particular bath. There's the closet, the door into the mechanical room. There's the 42-inch vanity. The shower is here. The shower head has to be on this side because this is a pocket door going back here. You can see that a slight bit of that soffit intrudes into the shower, but it's nothing really. And I don't know if this is another view from this side. Yeah, it shows the angle from this side, even with the little nightstands in place. And from this side, the soffits aren't in place, so you can see all the piping, but if the soffits are there, it's something like this. Next, and I'm sorry to belabor this point, I just want it to be thorough, and this is a fairly big undertaking. I want to make sure that you have what you want at the end. And so I want to take another revisit of these stairs, and it really got carried away, so bear with me and try to stay with it. This was the last, leaving all of this alone now, assuming that this 42-inch vanity works. If you want the larger grab bar, that the shift has to happen up here that we talked about. But returning and looking just at the patio and the walls, etc., you had liked these curved modular brick units, Allen block units coming around here, and this was where we had shown that. So I wanted to take a look at that. I'm concerned about, or one of the things I want to look at or review is how quickly someone gets from up here down to down here, and the linkage between down here and up here. And at first I started just looking at this wall. And so, all things equal, I wondered if you weren't better with something like this. This bit here is the walls themselves, and then of course this is the stair. And so I wondered if you wanted to think about something like this, whether that might work better. There's a bigger view of it here. This is what we had looked at, and this is that one. It trims 2 or 3 feet off the travel path, but maybe it feels better down through here. I don't know. It's a personal judgment there, and we are not finished with this whole area yet, sadly enough. But these were the two different looks I had at that time, at this time in my development. And so this is what we looked at when I was there last Friday, and then this is the modification of that. Nothing much really, but something to consider. And you would have, now I think I think that was the only rail that would be required. Is just the handrail. You wouldn't need a guard. All of the places where this becomes 30 inches high is going to be more than 3 feet from the walking path. So that's the only railing you would require. That was the only railing you were going to require here, was our belief. But this is the next look, something like that. It's the same, probably the same amount of alum block, same amount of work, a little more stair forming, but they're already into a curve here. And whether those, that could be any number of things. It doesn't have to be concrete stairs. So yeah, there's the required guard. Maybe that wall doesn't get so clogged up there and just comes back here, and you have potted geraniums or something in this corner. So this was what we looked at on Friday, and this is the modification of that. Next, though, as promised, I was not finished with this whole area, because after I was out and met your mom, your mother-in-law, I began to wonder, not just for the immediate future and foreseeable future, but for the long-term future, for the value of the estate, etc., whether we wanted to look at a better linkage between this outdoor area up here and the rear door and this lower living area here, which becomes a really viable apartment type environment. And so how close do we want to link this area with this upper area? And I know that we have an access in here through the stairs, etc., but I did want to make sure that we were set and sure on that once we got ready to put the money into this whole endeavor. So it was a case of do I want these, or do we want these stairs getting even more better linked with this environment down here, so that there's a quicker path from either of these places up to this outdoor living space, up to this rear door out here, etc. Originally I was thinking of just a little cute little stairs curving down there. It wasn't really possible to do that because if I get a stair down here, do we maintain a stair up here? This next review just looks at having one set of stairs going straight down to this patio environment quickly as possible. And so the first thing I did was looked at that. What is the quickest, what the shortest pathway, which would be right up beside these stairs here. And so this was like the first thing that I came up with, something like this, where this, these are the stairs from the deck here and then your rear door, and you just come straight down to here. I show these as kind of a pedestal stairs, and this was just an experiment, and this isn't what I would recommend because of some other considerations, how it eats up the patio, etc. But in any case, that was the first permutation I put together, with linking this upper straight to that without the need to cut around the retaining wall here and come all the way down around here. If somebody I want to jump upstairs for a minute without going through the inside environment, or I want to go outside to the pool environment, do I have to go all the way up around here, or can I just come straight up? So this was the first quick look at that, which was something like this. But again, I'm showing some of the required railings. I think this, a handrail is definitely required. Whether a person put these in, I think it's probably advisable. At least some sort of bars to keep people from falling, running right off that edge. And then from down here was something like this. But again, I think this is a bit overdone. And remember, I'm not showing any kind of pathway out here. I mean, that could still exist, but this is just a bit overdone in here, so it's kind of pointless. And I think that if we were going to have something like this, it would be like this, and I would get rid of this pedestal environment as well. There's no need for that. So something simple like this is the next kind of thing. And if you went with, and the other thing that's not been discussed, through here is these are now back to concrete retaining walls, and we didn't cover any of this when I showed concrete retaining walls before. But you had the opportunity, if you did put concrete retaining, you could veneer all of that with some sort of veneer stone, and I just picked a pattern or species or whatever they call it, but there's just a huge variety of these cultured stone that could be applied to the concrete walls, and it's an easy application as well. And these ones are just shown very straight and very simple. So going this way and this way is the simplest type of stair down. This is probably, and these walls can still be that Allen block for that matter. I mean, this comes out a little further when it is the Allen block, but these could actually all be Allen block instead of concrete with veneer, cultured stone veneer. I'm just showing it that way, and this is really a review of, do we want stairs right down to the patio? And so it's something you have to think about and weigh your options and what matters, etc. And I know this is long and arduous, but it's a substantial investment, so you ought to have it right. So that was the next simple stairs, and this is something like this. Absolute requirement of the handrail here. It actually could stop right here if you really didn't want handrails at all, but I think it's probably advisable at least have it come down to the bottom of the stairs for the long-term future, etc. Obviously, I don't show stairs out here, so the people are going to travel across this patio and then up these stairs in this permutation. There's some additional bars. I think that one's probably not required. They say within 3 feet of the walking path, and this is probably closer to 3.5 or 4 feet to the edge. But considering the pathways here, I think it's probably advisable to at least have some sort of guards here. And those are not the 4-inch sphere guards. They're just enough to stop people, including toddlers, from coming off and over that edge. Whether that one is there or whether that comes all the way down, it's just, personal probably. It's probably not required. And then here it is from down here with the bars in place. So that's the minimal kind of stairs to get down there. Next though, as I said, not done yet. Next, I wanted to look at a little different thing, and really I built this after this next section. I just built this morning, but at first I had gone to a situation where you come down. I wanted to break up this 9 riser stair with a little flat section, but really uses up a lot of the patio, but I already put it together, so we'll continue to look at it all the way through. And so I put this together where you come down 7 across a landing and then down in a pedestal environment this way, where a person could get to it quickly, either from the car or from the door or from these doors, etc. But you can see that there's a little bit of a squeeze here. If a car is parked there, and I don't know how often this happens, I have a feeling it might become a habit for someone or another. So first, because that was so squeezy, if we did go to this, and I had something in mind when I started putting this together too, and talked about it the last time briefly at our meeting. But the first thing was get rid of this pedestal type environment, and so you can only enter from this end here, which means, as opposed to that short, simple stairs that came down right here, while the people are not, while travelers from this area here are not cutting across her patio. If she wants to come up, she's got to come out here or out this door and then up. Still fairly straightforward. Next though, and then these are some retaining walls put along here because I have something in mind, as I said, for getting a better view out here, for not having this big towering wall, etc. So these are some additional retaining wall legs that come out here and hold the earth back on its way down this way, that slope down this way. And again, that car, that squeezy there, right here is probably only 18 inches or something. So this was that shown, that environment shown from the outside. That's the minimal bars. I don't think they would absolutely require these other ones, but I think they're, at least that much is probably a decent idea. And whether or not you had a railing along that landing and down those stairs would be, again, something personal. So here it is, come down the 7 across this landing and down the last 3 and out. Finally, hopefully finally, in terms of car parking there, do we shift that last wall back and create enough of an environment? I mean, I don't think the expense is anything really, as opposed to this. This is probably the way to go if you were going to go this route. Showing a 7x9 area in here that's isolated from the rest. I suppose maybe somebody pulls this whole section, gets pulled another foot, make that 8 foot by 9. This sorry to revisit this, but I want to make sure that you know what you're getting and you're going to be satisfied down the road. So this is pulled back into a couple terraces, and now the view from this door, there are plantings up here. This wall here along the landing is 18 inches high, so it's actually a little seat, or there are potted geraniums. I'll stay with the stereotype. And then this wall is pulled back some to allow for better parking here. I don't know what the expense is involved in this, as opposed to just the alum block, where we had the alum block wall here and a curve around here. I would just review all of this and see what appeals to you, and then we should probably draw what you would want ideally. And if we have to break it back, then we have to break it back later. But here it is from down here then, with these little 18-inch high wall here, 18-inch high wall here, and then planting areas here and here. Whether this bottom rail is there or not is really personal preference. You would require that much. I think that one's an absolute, regardless of what the code says. I think that one's an absolute. This one, the fall is not too high for anyone really. This is only 30 inches here, so it's not required. It's actually not required here, so nothing is required. There's no handrail required on this whole side, because everything's kept within the code requirements. personally, I like this one. It's only 7 feet here, but it is isolated from that. That's really all I can say about that. Again, this could push out another foot if you thought that that was a requirement. And that's it. Finally, that is it. I promise. So the only real decisions that need to be made are, can this bath work, whether with a smaller shower and a 48-inch vanity or the 42-inch vanity is shown, whether that 42-inch ADA required grab bar in its ADA specified location is required, and what sort of stairs and walls we have outside. And I think that would do it. So if you let me know about those 3 or 4 decisions as quickly as is reasonable, I'll put together the plans and it'll be no problem at all. Thanks.